Live from the production room in Ithaca, New York. It's Between the 20s with me, Max Raymond, and once again, we are pre-recording because we've got the great Jonathan Falco joining us. Jonathan, welcome back to Between the 20s.
You know, last time I was on this show, it was just so nice. You had to have me on twice, so I am excited to be back on Between the 20s. It's great to be with you for the next hour here, Max.
Next hour of a lot of ball to talk about. We're going to get into my mock draft and what will most likely be my final mock of this draft season. We'll get into some free agency talk and some predictions of where some of these final players will go. But first, we've got some news. We've got Kirk Cousins has finally signed. He's going to the Raiders. Jonathan, what was your reaction seeing that?
You know, in a way, I'm not too surprised by it, but it was really just a matter of, okay, where is he going to go? Because after Minnesota signed Kyler Murray, I was like, okay, by the slimmest of chances, Minnesota decides to, reunite with Kirk Cousins and have him compete with JJ. But I was like, okay, that's out the window now that they went with the right move and got Kyler Murray. But for the Raiders, this is a great move. I mean, Quint Kubiak wanted experience at quarterback. I mean, to mentor who will be Fernando Mendoza going one-on-one. So having Kirk Cousins there, he's experienced. He's still making a lot of money for whatever reason. Like, his agent needs to at least have 10% of the contracts that he gets. But yeah, I think it's a really good move. Quint Kubiak, the first-time head coach, he's trying to get a veteran mind in the quarterback room before you inevitably get Fernando Mendoza. I like it.
And finally, the last piece of news, I told you while we were prepping that it's kind of funny news. The Atlanta Falcons are making more changes to their uniform again.
Oh, my God.
They are, I don't know if you've seen it, and I'll pull it up.
I've seen it, and it's terrible. Like, I've seen people that are like, oh, it's fire. Like, no, they look like the Bucs uniforms. Like, I don't like them at all.
The Falcons, who had changed their uniforms back in 2020, I thought those looked good.
Yeah.
I thought they had great uniforms before. I thought the new ones looked good in 2020, and now all of a sudden they're once again making modifications. It seems like going to the red home white road with an alternate black with the original or old Falcon logo on the helmet. Okay. It's just funny. It's just funny. They keep rebranding and changing uniforms, and it's kind of crazy.
It wasn't needed. That's the problem. Like the past two uniforms pairings for the Falcons were good. I mean, like, listen, like the new one that they had like previous to this one, like one that we knew from last year and like years prior. I thought that one was fine. I thought obviously like the older ones were better. Cause I feel like everything older is just better. Like around like the 2010s football, you're used to those old Falcons uniforms. But I mean, I thought the ones that they just had were fine. These ones I don't like at all though.
All right, now let's get into our free agency talk. There's some top-end players that are still kind of floating around free agency, some really good talent. And so we're just going to go back and forth and yap about where we think they might go. Now, I had a player, but I'm realizing now with some further news coming out that we're going to stay away from, and that was Stephon Diggs.
Right.
We're just going to, steer clear of that as we don't know exactly what's happening legally and off the field with him, which could alter where he ends up on the field. So we're going to move past that. But there are two other receivers available that I believe are kind of really good talent that should be on a team but aren't, surprisingly. And I'm going to start with Jauan Jennings. Where are some locations that you think he would fit well?
I mean, I'm really pointing at one, and obviously it's the obvious connection with him and Robert Saleh, and that's down in Tennessee. I mean, obviously it's not like the same side of the ball, obviously Saleh being the defensive mind, but for a room where, listen, they're all over the place when it comes to offense. I think right now they just need a little bit of everything. They need a little bit of help everywhere. So the more experience you can get at wide receiver, and the ceiling's there. Like, wherever you're going to pay the guy is whatever, but I feel like the ceiling is absolutely there for Jauan Jennings. I thought he was going to be the wide receiver one in San Francisco at one period in time, but, I mean, obviously that didn't work out, and if he is paired alongside Wan'Dale in Tennessee, I mean, hey, it could work out. That's my number one place where I could see him going. Baltimore's another option. I'm not as crazy about that as I would be about Tennessee because, I mean, it's just another wide receiver that could get lost in the shuffle there in Baltimore. But, I mean, I'd really like if he were to go to Tennessee.
I find that kind of surprising, though, with the Titans, with Ridley, and they did add Wan'Dale, but even before this past offseason, Ridley, Ayomanor, Shimmery DK, just down the list of some other potential players that, could step up and contribute when we talk about guys with injuries. And even with Jauan Jennings, kind of the injury kind of thing, they do have some decent depth that can go there and make plays. But, still, I find that kind of interesting because it feels like they've got 4 guys already to add a 5th. What's your kind of thought process with all that?
Well, I'm just thinking, okay, like Chimere DK. Really, listen, I'm not gonna call him like anything like too overrated or anything like that because listen, we haven't seen enough of the guy. But I'm just thinking, okay, if it's a 1-year kind of prove it kind of thing, where okay, maybe he's 29 years old. Listen, again, this guy he was coming off with 6 broken ribs or something like that. Like, yeah, the injury risk is certainly there, but the reward if you're getting Jawan Jennings at his best. For Cam Ward, who needs as many targets as possible, I feel like at this point, because Cam Ward, I think he has so much potential to be great. I think the more targets you're going to give him, the better he's going to be. So I think adding Jawan Jennings, again, it might not be the best move of all time, but it certainly could be an interesting one. And obviously it's a fit there with reuniting with Robert Saleh. I wouldn't mind it if I was Tennessee.
Some places I'm looking at the Patriots
Yeah.
with just I'm looking at 2 teams that really have depleted receiver rooms. That's the Patriots and the Dolphins, because both of these teams really are kind of crumbling at that wide receiver position. I know the Patriots, they just released Stephon Diggs, and after that they really don't have much, and they desperately need the help. And for the Dolphins, trading away Waddle, releasing Tyreek Hill, they too have nothing left after that. And so I really think that for all remaining receivers, those are the 2 teams, except for Diggs and the Pats, because that already ship has sailed. But I think that those are the 2 for me that are most desperate as of now for a receiver.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think the Patriots, now I think about it, makes a lot of sense because, I do have one free agent wide receiver going to Miami. We'll get to him in a second. But, yeah, for the Patriots, obviously losing Stephon Diggs, you're going to get a bit of extra experience in case they don't want to draft a wide receiver at 31, which I don't think they will anyways. But if they didn't want to do that, maybe they can go and get a veteran wide receiver and a guy who's been to the playoffs before, a former, I believe, Pro Bowler in Jawan Jennings. So, listen, I think it'd be a good move for them.
Now, how about another guy that's still available, surprisingly, Deebo Samuel? I'm looking at him as I think his top spot is returning to Washington. I really think so. And the thing with Deebo is that he's so kind of just like a scheme guy, and it's so odd trying to figure out where he is and the kind of player he can be, because we talk about where he was with the 49ers, basically almost being converted into a running back, seemingly, and then moving to Washington, and a lot of the talk was, he put on a lot of weight, he's not as fast and agile as he had been, plus with the injuries to Daniels and Mariota stepping up as the quarterback and everything kind of seemingly falling apart, the defense not being what it was, it just kind of feels awkward with Deebo, but I almost feel like if he can get back to the 49er version of him with a healthy Daniels, he could really ball out. So I think that Washington is a great spot for him and a great 1-2 punch with him and Scary Terry.
Yeah, and I don't hate that either, but I'm also looking at a spot where, and I mentioned it earlier, I'm looking at a spot where he could compete for the wide receiver 1 job as it stands right now. The team that completely tanked their entire roster, minus Devon Achane. I'm looking at Miami. And the reason for that, okay, listen, is Deebo Samuel the greatest? Is he ever going to match what he did in 2021? Absolutely not. That's not what you're going to get at Deebo in 2026. He's 30 years old. He's coming to the end of his career, in my opinion. He's going to have a few years left to really prove himself to an NFL team. So I think this is really the last chance for him to have a clear spot at wide receiver 1. So I think at this point, for the better of Deebo Samuel's career, to really show how good he can be. And listen, granted, he's going to probably have a relatively bad quarterback. So if he can have some pretty solid numbers with a below-end quarterback, I think that can interest some teams next year. Again, I'm also thinking prove a deal for Deebo Samuel here as well. And that's just because, hey, you want money. You're going to be 31 next offseason. So why not go and take a chance, be the wide receiver 1, as it stands right now for the Miami Dolphins, or at least compete for that job and get some good numbers with a below-end quarterback and be like, hey, maybe Deebo can go shine with a better quarterback.
I'm going to stick with the offense here. Let's go to the offensive line with some offensive line guys. And one I have in mind, Kevin Zeitler, an offensive lineman that we look at kind of the deals that are being made with these offensive linemen, and it's, of course, a lot older guys in retrospect to the league, but seemingly that's a position that you can stick around with because you really just need agility and you need the size and strength, which is something that doesn't diminish as much as your speed and that kind of skill set that a skill position would have. And so that's why these linemen go longer. So what are you seeing with a guy like Zeitler?
So I've got two choices. First off, I want to hear your thoughts on this before I go to my second team, which was one I actually prefer over this team, the New York Giants. What are your thoughts about that?
It's really intriguing, and I can see it, but at the same time, with the additions that the Giants have already kind of made, and the fact that Zeitler feels like a move that's either you're trying to solidify yourself, win a playoff kind of pick, it just doesn't feel like it fits for the Giants and kind of the fact that their cap isn't in the best position as maybe some other teams.
That's the other thing, yeah.
So
and then my other team, which is one I actually prefer over the Giants here, is the Lions. Because first off, he already played there 2 years ago. He had the best year of his career in Detroit, and go figure. This is the Lions need O-line right now, and they need a lot of it. I mean, listen, you only have Tate Ratledge, Penei Sewell, and a bunch of bums. I wasn't forgetting somebody. Like at that point, you're gonna draft probably O-line first round in the draft, and you look at Kevin Zeitler. That's 4 of your 5 right there. So now your O-line's going from an O-line that was losing you games last year to a pretty solid O-line in the span of a year. So I think if you're Lions management, I think you got to go and at least make a phone call to Kevin Zeitler.
how about the Steelers?
I don't hate that either.
That's the team that I kind of picked out, and you look at this Steelers squad trying to fix up the offensive line. Who's going to be your quarterback? Is it going to be an old veteran Rodgers that can't move as much so you need an O-line? Or is it going to be a younger guy, whether drafted this year or they've got Will Howard? So again, you want an O-line to protect and kind of give a quarterback time to make his reads, make his plays, because young guys aren't going to be able to process the game as fast as a veteran player can. Plus, you don't want to let your young guy get shaken up and lose confidence within himself in the pocket and not be able to perform because he gets hit a lot. So I've got the Steelers, and then how about continuing with the O-line, Jawan Taylor, another offensive lineman. I'm picking out the Patriots for him.
I like that. I like that, but I also like Houston because Houston also needs offensive line really badly. And my thing with the Patriots, and the reason I'm not going to go with New England is I feel like they're outside. I mean, obviously you're going to need a Morgan Moses replacement at some point. Are you assuming with the Jawan Taylor pick up for the Patriots, they're just going to move off of Morgan Moses?
Yes. I think that
I don't hate
the
that.
system that they had isn't really working. I think that also with that pick, Will Campbell showed some weakness off the edge, whether that's just rookie year struggles or his genuine inability to do so. There have been talks and rumors of him potentially bumping inside to guard. So Taylor would be if you either do the move you were talking about or bump Campbell inside. But either way, the way that this Patriots offensive line really struggled in the playoffs, especially the Super Bowl. And I know you're really pumped about your Seahawks, but even against all the other teams that the Patriots faced, they faced good defenses. Let's be real. They faced solid defenses, and their O-line really struggled, and I think you've just kind of scrapped the plan and rebuild it.
I actually am going to flip my pick. I'm actually going to agree with you, and the only reason is I'm actually looking at Texans roster right now. They already filled right tackle, and left tackle, they're Ariante Ursary on a rookie contract. Not that he's that great, but he's on a rookie contract, so I feel like you got to take the chance on him. They did land Braden Smith on the right side, so they don't necessarily need the outside, so I'm actually going to flip. I like the move to New England because obviously I'm a Seahawks fan. I saw it myself. That the Patriots need some offensive line help, so why not? They have the cap space to do it, so go out and get one of the better offensive linemen in this entire free agency class.
Now we've got two more players, defensive guys that I had sent you in advance, and then a couple of other players that I want to talk about that I want to get your fresh, raw take on. So first, some of the guys that we've got. I'm going to start with Hassan Reddick, and one team I picked out for him, I picked out because we're looking at just simply filling roster space and the fact that we don't exactly know what we're going to get out of Hassan Reddick. He hasn't been a consistent starter, but we know what he can be and the skill that he does have. And so talking about prove-it deals on a team that needs to fill roster space, I picked out the Seahawks. And I know you've got some interesting takes, and I picked them, one, because of all those factors, and two, because I'm excited to hear what you have to say about the departures of the team and what you think the Seahawks should do to fill.
And yes, the Seahawks do need an edge rusher, and that's why there's another edge rusher that I have going to the Seahawks later on. We'll talk about him in a second. I like it. I do. I like the idea of Hassan Reddick in Seattle. But and my pick was quite frankly really chalky. I did go with Carolina to fill some extra depth and again prove it. Trying to see what you can do there, right? Reunite with Carolina. So that mine's relatively chalky. So I like your pick of the Seahawks. I'm not going to switch mine yet because of the person that I assume we're going to talk about next.
That person is Joey Bosa.
Joey
if you want to
Bosa.
get into him. So Joey Bosa, another guy that the Bosa brothers were great, wreaking havoc, and then he kind of just seemed to kind of be a little off last year, but I think he still got it, and clearly you do too if you want your Seahawks to go get him.
I like it, and obviously there's a chalky answer of him reuniting with the Chargers, but if Joey Bosa became a Seahawk, in a way that'd be kind of cool because I'm a big fan of Joey Bosa, and if he were to be in Seattle, we need an edge rusher. Mike McDonald could work with him pretty well. I mean, granted, yes, the Seahawks already have veteran edge rushers, but I think adding Joey Bosa, just a more veteran presence right now on a defense where experience matters. I mean, just fulfilling and it doesn't even rule out the possibility of drafting an edge rusher in the draft because, again, you're going to need youth anyways. You let go of Boye Mafe. He went to Cincinnati, so why not go and bring Joey Bosa in short term, even if you wanted to bring him in on a prove-it deal. I'm okay with that, too. And, yes, he's going to be a little bit pricey because edge rusher is pricey. I like it for the Seahawks if they were to land Joey Bosa.
Two teams that I had picked out for Bosa, one sticking in Buffalo, just to kind of simple, plain move, and another one, the Lions, just because the thought of pairing any edge rusher with Aiden Hutchinson, the talks of the Lions potentially drafting a guy in the first round. They do need a lot of O-line help, but potentially getting a guy in the first or second round. Just the idea of pairing another elite threat on the opposite side of the field with Hutchinson just seems so barbaric and scary.
Yeah, because I'm not looking at Aiden Hutchinson being paired alongside DJ Wanham on the outside and be like, yeah. Scary duo.
That's a scary duo.
That's the duo right there, man. Yeah. So in a way, I like that a lot. Weird enough, I like that more than Seattle because here's the thing. As I was mentioning earlier, Seattle they have edge depth already when it comes to older players, I should say, because you already have DeMarcus Lawrence. I always mix him and Dexter Lawrence up because obviously similar names. But yeah, I mean they already have depth. Uchenna Nwosu is another guy. He's 30 years old. There's veterans there already, but then there's also young guy with Derek Hall. I mean, I think this is the last year of his deal rookie deal, before he becomes a free agent. So a lot of question marks in the long term for edge rusher. But I wouldn't hate if you wanted to move off of Uchenna Nwosu and bring in another former Charger in Joey Bosa. Again, I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all.
Now I've got a couple of players that I didn't tell you about, just getting some raw reactions with just for the fun of it. First guy, I'm going to stick with former Lions, a defensive tackle at the age of 32. He's older, but a run stuffer. DJ Reader, still available. Talking about these veteran guys, and I know we talk about getting up in age and regressing a little bit, but still, the fact of being a veteran and having that presence still brings a lot of value to a team, plus his run defense ability. Where do you think he may land?
I like Miami. And the reason for that is, Kenneth Grant's on a still on a rookie deal. He needs a mentor because look at his defensive line right now. Because, Zach Sealer, really, he's getting $21 million AAV for Zach Sealer. Okay, whatever. All right, but another conversation. But the rest of that defensive line is relatively young. So why not go and get? Chop Robinson's there. But he's also very young. Seth Coleman, young. Why not get an experienced veteran in there like DJ Reader to help fill that defensive line? And again, he's not going to be a game-changing guy, but as a mentor, I think that's the perfect fit.
I was thinking a couple of teams that really need the run defense help. Looking at the Bears and the Bills, two teams that struggled against the run. The Bears more than the Bills, but certainly two teams, so that's what I'm looking at. And then a cornerback that was good, had a little fall-off, injuries, definitely a factor. Trayvon Diggs. What are you potentially thinking with a corner like that? Where are some places you think he may land?
Some places he may land. I honestly, Trayvon Diggs is in a really, really weird spot right now because, he's not, obviously he got waived by Green Bay after one game. Did he even play one game? I don't think he had any playing time.
I don't even think he got a lot of action
in the postseason. So that's why I'm saying it's in such a weird spot to where, if our team were to go and land Trayvon Diggs, it's this guy's going to be game changing. He's gonna be on the depth chart throughout the entire game. No, he's not gonna be playing for most of the time.
He got one game.
So
he got in the one wild card game against the Bears. He had one assisted tackle.
It's really a team that you can be why not go and like prove it? I mean, like, is Baltimore a possible? I mean, is Seattle? I mean, they need a corner. I mean, it's like a prove it kind of thing. Maybe if Mike McDonald can tune him around again. Listen, that's not necessarily a guy. Oh, go and replace Tariq Woolen or go alongside Nate Wiggins, Joby Awuzie in Baltimore. But it's also like, okay, like this guy's not going to start as soon as this guy gets signed off of free agency. He's going to have to work his way up again because of how bad he was in coverage outside of the interceptions with Dallas. So I'm interested to see where he goes. That's somebody caught me by surprise, but because he's not a guy I'm not necessarily too high on right now, but he's a guy that, okay, low risk, high reward. So if a team wanted to go take a chance on him, they can go and do that.
That's why I didn't tell you these names in advance. I wanted to try to catch you off guard and get into some
caught
fun
me there.
conversations.
I like
I
that.
think that you're spot on with everything you've said. And the next guy I want to talk about, again, another guy. These are the guys that are left are either aging or they're low on the radar, but they're still players that can bring value. And you talk about a team that's just like the most fun part about looking back on history is looking at these World Series I'm thinking baseball, I'm senior Yankee hat, but thinking about these championship teams and the kind of sleeper players, the underrated guys that really contributed down the line and proved to be why the team was successful. And it's always fun going back, and I say World Series because I think about commonly with baseball. But so these are guys that make a difference, and another guy that I think can make a difference is David Njoku, who is still available.
Yeah, that's right, he is.
He's still available.
Yeah. Wow.
You're surprised he even still is available. Where are you thinking with him? Because I've got a spot in mind that kind of coincides with a little bit of news coming out that I'll get into. But first, I'll let you have the floor.
I mean, I'm also looking at a team like Washington. You know, maybe a team. You know, Chigakonkwo has already got signed there. How about Chigakonkwo and David Njoku? A little bit of a veteran tight end signing, like pairing. You already talked about Jaden Daniels needing weapons when you talked about Deebo Samuel. But yeah, I mean, why not go and get pair Chigakonkwo? That's a tough name to say. With a guy like David Njoku, and you're kind of forming a little bit of an offense there in Washington again. Terry McLaurin. I mean, I'm looking at this roster now. Maybe Deebo Samuel is the move to bring him back because you're gonna have Terry, Deebo, Van Jefferson, and then Chigakonkwo, David Njoku. I like it. I like the tight end pairing there for a team that desperately needs a little bit of offense.
I've got two teams in mind. One, the Niners, because of course George Kittle. We don't know when he's going to be returning, but the one team I'm thinking about is the New England Patriots. And I'll get into why. We know Hunter Henry, he had a real breakout season last year, but talking about this Patriots team, they need pass catchers just in general. They did bring in Romeo Doubs, but they've got Kayshon Boutte, Matt Collins, Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams. It's just it's not guys that you're thinking these are guys that are going to go ball out and make a difference.
Yeah.
Romeo Doubs definitely, but Boutte, Hollins, Douglas, just not really.
Yeah.
And reports coming out that we're kind of seeing is Mike Vrabel talking about how give us the tight ends. I forget what the exact quote it was, but he was talking about how we want tight ends, give us all the tight ends. And so with that, thinking about the 12 personnel that a lot of teams are trying to move to, but also the fact that you simply just need pass catchers. Drake May has proven that he's mobile and has proven that he's got great ability to read a defense and just get the ball in a player's hands. And so with those skills plus a run game that is slowly kind of developing and with the better O-line will help, plus better tight end play will help with that O-line, I think that this Patriots team could reach a new level of offense that they really didn't have last year that they need because their defense is solid.
Yeah, it is, especially that defensive line. So, yeah, you definitely don't need that. Yeah, and for an offense, yeah, where, okay, listen, they went to the Super Bowl, but then now that they got blown out instead of the Super Bowl, now people are going to really be harping on the schedule. So this team, like, even though they just went to the Super Bowl, they still have a lot to prove. To me also. Especially after watching them. I wasn't sitting there watching a lot of Patriots games last season, but, like, when I'm watching them, it's more like, okay, obviously the offensive line was the main issue, but it's also like, is this offense really that elite? Is there really a clear wide receiver one? Especially now with Stephon Diggs leaving. I mean, is Romeo Doubs going to carry you to the promised land? No.
He's not even really a wide receiver one kind of guy.
No, he's not. He's a perennial wide receiver two.
He's a solid wide receiver, but I wouldn't consider him a wide receiver 1.
No, not at all. That's why the rumors were is A.J. Brown going to go to New England at some point in the summer. That's why you need more pass catchers for a guy like Drake May. Obviously, offensive line's a concern. The offense definitely needs to be revamped for the Patriots. That's why I said it after the Super Bowl. They have probably the most interesting offseason. Them and the Vikings are the two most interesting offseasons that I'm going to be taking a look at for the rest of the spring and summer.
All right, we got a couple minutes left until we're going to get into the mock draft, and so we've got some fun players now. Now we're gonna have a lot of fun. I've got a sub section of this section, but first, before we get to this little subset with these last 2 players, I've got one more. Odell Beckham Jr. Let's have some fun. I've already been asked about him and his potential return to New York, but of course, I'm going to give you the floor first to kind of yap, and then I'll get into my thoughts.
This isn't even, I don't even mean to be chalky with this one. I am begging. It's 2016, 10 years, or 2016. I wish it was 2016. It's 2026, 10 years after 2016. Please, Odell, sign with the Giants just for fun. Okay, listen, he doesn't even have to be like the insane wide receiver that he was 10 years ago. Just for the vibes of it. Jackson Dart throwing a touchdown pass to Odell Beckham Jr., especially if he catches like one-handed in the end zone like he did at the flag football game. How awesome would that be? I am just begging. I don't want to see Odell anywhere else but the Giants. I'm not listing any more options for him. I don't care who needs a receiver. I don't care at all. Bring him back to the Giants, please.
I think that Here are my genuine thoughts.
Okay.
First, we'll start with back when Odell was with the Giants. I felt that he was almost hurting them more than he was helping. Yes, were there games where he absolutely balled out and seemingly put the team on his back? Sure. But when I was younger watching the Giants play, it almost felt like Manning was forced to throw the ball to Odell. Whether he was coming out kind of like A.J. Brown is or not demanding targets, it almost felt like he had to get the ball 7 to 10 times, a minimum. And it was kind of like Manning was forcing the ball to him. And then when Daniel Jones got there, forcing the ball to him right before Odell left. I think there was a little crossover there. If not, then it was just, again, carrying through the Manning times. And so I really didn't feel like OBJ was that great. Yes, he had the one-handed catch that we all tried to mimic when we were younger playing football out in the yard and at recess. Absolutely. But when he left and I looked back at his time in New York, what did he do? They got to one playoff game and got blown out by the Packers after the whole yacht incident.
Right.
And so because of all of that, it felt like lackluster. But now, looking at this Giants team and the fact that this locker room is an absolute dumpster fire, there is no personality, although we do have Dart and Scadaboo. There's real no identity to this team. There's no kind of locker room presence. And I just think the sheer fact of what he could bring to the locker room, what he could bring just kind of as a guy, and the fact that how incredible it would be to get to see social media content with Dart, Jameis, Scadaboo, and Odell Beckham Jr., I think why not? Yeah. I think why not? You're going to sign him for 1, 2, maybe 3 years. By the time his contract's up, you'll be in a position where you're actually ready to go compete. And by then, you'll have time to build up the defense, the offensive line a little more, draft some wide receivers, have fun. Why not?
Yeah, just give it a why not. Yeah, especially, social media content's there. And then we can harp about, like, the 2016 Giants and, what you were talking about there. Because also, keep in mind, their coach was Ben McAdoo in 2016. If Odell Beckham Jr. was in his prime with John Harbaugh right now, I don't think he'd be being a little bit of a diva and asking for all these targets because I think John Harbaugh knows what's best for a football team. But that being said, I'm a big fan of Odell Beckham coming back to the Giants just for the vibes, I feel like this team they need a culture, as you were saying, and why not? Like, just a little bit of a throwback to 2016. It's 2026 season is just a few months away. Just screw it, just go and do it, Giants. Just go sign him for a prove-it deal. He doesn't have to get that many targets. I want to see one touchdown and be like, yeah, dude, Odell Beckham Jr. just back where he belongs, and maybe this time he can leave on good terms.
All right, now let's get into the Will They Retire Finally segment of this show. And yes, Dad, I did spend my singing money on podcast equipment, not singing lessons. Will they retire finally? Aaron Rodgers Is he going to finally retire? You say no.
No, and the only reason is because I think he's going to want one more season with Mike McCarthy, and this is going to be it. He's got one more in him, and then he's going to retire, and Will Howard, for some reason, is going to be the face of the Steelers.
And finally, the finally part of it, because this guy seemingly retired and then decided to return, Darren Waller. Will he retire and finally commit to music or not?
This offseason, I say, no. I'm going to say no. I'm 50-50. I'm more 50-50 on that. I am very confident that Rodgers is going to play. I'm not too confident that Darren Waller is either, but I think he will. I think he's got one more season in him, and then he's going to hang it up for sure. And he's going to make a couple more bangers, you know? He had the one song, Top Play, and that's it. He's a one-hit wonder now. He's going from multi-time NFL Pro Bowler to one-hit wonder. So that's the life of Darren Waller.
All right.
Yeah, I say no, he plays.
Now let's get into the awaited moment, my mock draft 2.0. I've had a lot of fun working on this. So much fun that I've actually redone this multiple times this week. So much so that I was finishing this up right before I came down here and was a reason why I got here when I did. Let's get right into it. And, of course, the first and obvious pick, Fernando Mendoza, first overall. Seems really self-explanatory, and that really feels like the last chalk pick. Feels like in years past, we talk about last year, first 3, 4, 5 picks seemed kind of obvious what was going to happen. Maybe a little iffy with the whole Travis Hunter, but even still he ended up going 2. It was just a trade. But the year before that, Caleb, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and so on and so forth, it just seemed obvious. This year, moving forward, not so much. So let's get into it. The Jets at pick number 2, I've got them taking Ohio State linebacker Arvell Reese. They need defensive help, and I believe Arvell Reese is the best defensive player available because he not only does he have great speed for his size, but he also has the ability to rush off the edge and drop back into pass coverage. Then number 3, and this is where I think you're going to jump in and finally kind of talk. Sonny Styles goes number 3 overall to the Cardinals. I look at this Cardinals team and I see that, do they need offensive line help? Sure, but they're going to have a high second-round pick, and there are a lot of offensive linemen that are going to fall out of this first round and be available early in the second round that they could wait on. There are also definitely wide receivers that they could wait on. There really is, I don't feel confident in taking a running back this early. And so because of all those factors and the fact that you do still need defensive help, why not go get the best defensive player available?
I'm surprised, but I'm not going to say it's an illogical pick. I'm going to disagree with you, but I like where you're going with this because I think the first 2 picks for the Cardinals, regardless, should be O-line, linebacker. But I think we talked about him the last time that we were on Between the 20s together was, okay, you were hyped about Jacob Rodriguez. And maybe if the Falcons, the Cardinals were to pick Maui Go at 3, like I would recommend them do, they can go and get Jacob Rodriguez early in the second round, and then you fill that linebacker hole there. So, in a way, I disagree, but I like the move because he is the best player, besides Jeremiah Love, but he's the best defensive player available at that time. So, I like the pick, but I disagree. But it's not illogical, so I'm okay with it. I like it.
The trend with this draft and that I'm picking up with just the season in general is that based on the skill of the players, it's really going to come down to more of, all right, what do we need more help on which side of the ball, offense or defense, and then what's the best player on that side of the ball available? And so because of that, I've got the Titans taking David Bailey, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech, and then the New York Giants, I'm sticking to my guns of what I think they should do, taking Francis Maui-Noah. And I understand it's early at 5, but here's what I'm looking at. 1, the Giants need offensive line help. There's no reason why the Giants should be trying to run it back with the same O-line this year if it didn't work last year. So why not go get a new piece that you can move around? He's got great agility. He can stay outside at tackle. You can bump him in at guard. I know it's early for a guard, but at the same time, you've got to understand that the Giants they have to do something. And again, we talk about depth and availability of what's to come.
I disagree with you saying it's a little early for a guard because I feel like we have, with how bad the Giants' O-line was last year, now Sonny Styles is off the board. I think Maui Go is a home run pick for the Giants at this point. When you need offensive line that badly, you're getting the best offensive lineman in the draft at pick 5. I would love this if I was a Giants fan. Yeah, this mock draft's going great right now. If you're a Giants fan, fill that hole at offensive tackle. And as we were saying earlier with the Cardinals pick, you can still go fill the hole at linebacker because now you have Sonny Styles going to Arizona. Talk about Jacob Rodriguez again if you like him still.
He's in the window of opportunity. Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas is available. Let's keep it moving. 6, Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. Seems pretty obvious. He's my he's my number 1 receiver in this draft class. 7, Jeremiah Love to the Washington Commanders. And I believe that while this is early, again, talk about the best player available at the side of the ball that you need help with. And when I look at this Commanders team, you want to take pressure off of Jaden Daniels, especially coming from a season where he was injured a lot. He seems right now like your top running back. I know they went and got Rachaad White, but he's really not a top guy. They've got Ja'Cory Kronsky-Merritt. He couldn't prove that he's a top-end running back, so why not go and get the best player available at the running back position and what I believe to be the number 1 player in this draft. And I truly think he falls because of his position.
And I completely agree with you on that statement because with how this draft's going, if this was hypothetical, I would actually trade back if I was Washington here, solely because Washington needs O-line. But if we're sticking to pick number 7 overall, this is the absolute right pick because, the Washington running back room is a little weird right now, but they need not wide receiver. They need a running back 1. And that running back 1 would be runaway Jeremiah Love, and you pair him with Rachaad White. God forbid, knock on wood, if Jeremiah Love were to get hurt, Rachaad White's filled his shoes for Bucky Irving last year. So you know the possibility of the potential, of Rachaad White. But Jeremiah Love, man, he's so good. And you pair him alongside Jaden Daniels, the read options you can do with him and Jaden Daniels, it's possible. And obviously not like their number 1 thing that they can do, but having Jeremiah Love in any backfield is going to be beneficial. And for a roster that needs a running back, that's the home run pick.
Continuing on, and again, just looking at depth of position, and I'll tell you now, no trades, simply because I don't feel like a team needs to move up. The way that this draft kind of works out, there's a lot of great talent, but there's no real stud players where you feel like you have to move up to get because there's plenty of depth. I think the real strength of this draft is the depth.
Yeah, it's a great
I think that while there aren't standout stud guys that can go in the top 10, I think that there are more than enough guys that are first-round caliber players that just won't be able to go. And so because of that, I think a lot of teams are going to stick and pick. At 8, I got Reuben Bain Jr. finally going off the board of the Saints. At 9, Mansour Delane to the Chiefs, continuing to work on rebuilding that defense, rebuilding that corner room that was sapped away by the Rams. At 10, Caleb Downs just kind of feels inevitable and pretty chalky, but true. And then we've got 11, Jermod McCoy. I've got the Dolphins, and again, talking about depth, I really love the wide receiver depth, and this was a pick that I played around with a lot. 5 minutes before finishing up this mock, I was almost done, and then I looked at the Dolphins and where they were back at 30 and realized I'm about to make them draft 2 wide receivers in the first round. They don't need that, and so I reset, and I'll say I originally had Mekhi Lemon going here at 11 to the Dolphins, and I think that's by far a possible move, but as this plays out the way that I think it will, it almost doesn't feel like a good enough corner is going to fall compared to the potential talent you could get at wide receiver later on. And so because of that, I think that they see that and go with the corner earlier.
Honestly, you can't screw up this pick if you're the Dolphins, because let's just say hypothetically, I mean,
you could take Ty Simpson.
Yeah, you could take Ty Simpson, yeah. But I mean, logically, if you're being logical about it, if you go wide receiver, I mean, Mekhi Lemon, that's still a really good pick because Mekhi Lemon's ceiling is there. He screams Miami Dolphin more than Jermod McCoy, but I think McCoy, yes, it is very risky because he did miss all last year because of his injury. But that said, he could be the best quarterback to come out of this draft if he were to stay healthy. If he ends up playing better than Mansour Delane would in Kansas City in this hypothetical mock draft, I like Jermod McCoy to Miami with Jeff Hafley. And go figure, Jeff Hafley would probably favor going defense in his first draft as a head coach of Miami Dolphins than he would go wide receiver. I mean, we would go offense, I should say.
12, C.J. Allen, linebacker of the Georgia Bulldogs, going to the Cowboys. They need the linebacker help. 13, I've got the Rams, and I'm really specific. There's a specific reason why I've got them picking this guy. I don't think he's the second best wide receiver, but Jordan Tyson. I think Mekhi Lemon's better, but here's why I think the Rams go with Jordan Tyson. Raw talent-wise, I think Tyson is the better player. The only reason why I would rank Mekhi Lemon higher is because Lemon doesn't have these injury concerns. That being said, the Rams have Puka Nacua, they have Devontae Adams, and so because of these factors, while they would be nice to add a receiver because you still got to re-sign Puka and you don't know how much that's going to potentially be, Devontae Adams could leave at the end of the season, and so you want to build for the future to continue to be competitive. Because of the fact that you don't need to demand this guy to be a top-end talent immediately, you can afford to rest him, not play him as much, and allow him to come back to being 100, plus afford to lose him a week or so here and there. But if you get what he is and his potential for a couple of weeks through the season, he can win you football games. He could be a difference maker to win football games.
Not only, first off, as a Seahawks fan, this is the absolute worst-case scenario, but I like the logic of this pick. And first off, I will go so much to say that a healthy Jordan Tyson is the best wide receiver in this class. So this is a very interesting risk because not only do you not need Jordan Tyson to go crazy in his first year, kind of like a JSN kind of thing where the Seahawks already had two starting wide receivers initially when JSN was a rookie. Like, the same thing with Jordan Tyson when they already have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams year one of Jordan Tyson. Let's say Devontae leaves, Jordan Tyson's the runaway wide receiver too. And the potential there, a healthy Jordan Tyson, that's a very, very good wide receiver too. That's on a rookie contract, 4 years to be the best, in my opinion, a healthy Jordan Tyson being the best wide receiver in 2026 draft class. Yeah, that's a very good risk to take. So, unfortunately, and for Sean McVay, yeah, you got to trust Sean McVay with whatever offensive pick he makes. Him and Les Snead are an absolutely incredible duo, as much as I hate to say it. Yeah, this would be a home run pick for the Rams.
They're so good at drafting. It's actually insane. Almost their whole defense was built out of the last couple of years of draft. It's crazy. Next, I've got the Baltimore Ravens taking tackle Spencer Fano out of Utah. He's a great tackle. I really like him. I think that his ceiling is 5 to the Giants, should things play out that way. His floor right around here to the Ravens. I think they need to build up that O-line. I think they could use some receivers, some running back help, but of course you could get that later in the draft. Secondary help, you can get that later. I think this is a great pick for them as they got to fix up. And again, concerns about him and his ability to hang around at tackle. Well, the Ravens also need interior help anyways.
Daniel Fowler, yeah, looking at you, buddy, yeah.
Next up, I've got the Bucs taking Kenyon Sadiq. You want to talk about a team that just needs weapons and just loves building and stacking weapons. No more Mike Evans, but yet seemingly they've got a guy that could help replace his production. A healthy Mike Evans certainly is not replaceable by one man alone, but can help, but also helps in run blocking, in just pass block in general, and again, a great receiver threat as well. So Kenyon Sadiq, and then at 16, this is where I've got Mekhi Lemon going to the Jets. I did a little swap. Again, I'd almost finished my mock and then looked through and decided, you know what, I'm going to swap Mekhi Lemon and Jermod McCoy. So I initially had McCoy going here as well. So what do you think about the two of those guys, either or going near the Jets?
So, yeah, I like the swap. I wouldn't hate the swap of Kenyon Sadiq going to the Jets and Mekhi Lemon going to Tampa Bay because obviously Mekhi Lemon, the Bucs need a new wide receiver because Chris Godwin, it could be a Emeka Egbuka alongside Mekhi Lemon for the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers already paid Cade Otton, so you're already stacking up 2 tight ends there, which, again, isn't a bad thing because tight ends are very important, we already doubled down with the Patriots or with David Njoku and Hunter Henry, but that's another topic of conversation. But, yeah, Mekhi Lemon to either of those teams, either to Miami, I said it before, he screams Miami Dolphin more than any of these teams. I would love him in Miami. But, yeah, Jermod McCoy, when on a defense that needs interceptions, obviously, the Jets didn't get an interception all of last year. Why not go and take a chance on Jermod McCoy? If you are Aaron Glenn, you're kind of drafting for your job here at this point, even though it is the general manager's job, obviously. This kind of relays back to Aaron Glenn's job, obviously, because it's the matter of what New York Jets team is going to be on the field. You already traded for Geno Smith for whatever reason, so now you got to try and build up that offense. So I'm interested to see where the Jets go with the second pick because the number 2 overall pick is the runaway. I think should be Arvell Reese. Number 16 is a bit more unpredictable for me. I like Mekhi Lemon here though. Good pick.
17, the Lions, we talked about already. They need offensive line help, going with Monroe Freeling. And then 18, your guy to the Vikings, Dylan Thieneman, the safety out of Oregon. He really shot up the boards for me as just an incredible talent with that amazing combine.
Yeah, absolutely love it. I feel like this is such a layup pick. It screams Minnesota Viking almost as well, actually, I think more than Mekhi Lemon screams Miami Dolphin. This guy is a perfect Minnesota Viking. I love it.
Now, these next two picks are all about the talent and just what these teams need help with. Both these teams, the Panthers and Cowboys, coming up need defensive help. I've got the Panthers taking Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I'm a big fan of McNeil-Warren. Really am. I still do. I'm still debating within my own self of who's the better safety between Thieneman and Warren. And as of now, I'm sticking with Thieneman. But Warren, he didn't run the fastest 40. But when you watch his tape, when you watch his on-field performance, in-game performance, he plays fast.
He does.
He plays fast.
And, I mean, it kind of goes to par with how Toledo backs are. I mean, look at Quinyon Mitchell, already an all-pro. He played at Toledo. And now Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, I mean, going to the Carolina Panthers here, that'd be nasty. I mean, listen, I mean, wherever he goes, he's going to be in a good spot because, I mean, the teams that need a safety are teams that already have some solid defense around it. So I'd be interested to see how Emmanuel McNeil-Warren would fit in the Panthers' defense, though.
And then at 20, I've got Akeem Mesidor here going to the Cowboys.
Love that.
He's an edge rusher that it really took me taking the time to watch his film to realize how truly game-wrecking he was for Miami this season. It felt like it was a lot of Ruben Bain and then Akeem Mesidor picking up the scraps. And I know there's some concerns about his age, being an older guy at 24 years of age, as well as a few minor injury concerns. But, man, when I watched that tape and realized that it really was a 1-2 punch and not a guy just good enough to pick up the scraps of whatever double team that was leaving him available, Akeem Mesidor is truly a first-round talent for me.
I think the age is a little overrated when it comes to an edge rusher, for example, because 24 years old, you got 4 years with the guy on a rookie deal, so he's going to be 28 by the time you have to pay him again, or 27 at the earliest. So then at that point, you're paying, let's say, another hypothetical 3-year extension. He's in his 30s, so then bang. Those are the two best. That's one big contract you have to pay him, and that's it. You don't have to pay him two. Let's say he came out of college at 22 versus coming out of college at 24. That's 2 years. That's huge for NFL, for the business of the NFL. I think, and obviously the ceiling of Akeem Mesidor, we've both watched the tape. He's a very good edge rusher. I mean, yes, he's partially overshadowed by Ruben Bain this year at Miami, but I think the room for opportunity is there, and if you were to pair him on that Cowboys defensive line, you got to replace Micah Parsons. I'm not saying this guy's ever going to reach the ceiling of Micah Parsons, but you need an edge rusher to get on that Cowboys D line. I like the move.
And of course, you talk about 2 years. It's not like 2 years lost. He was in the college ranks, learning and developing and growing. Moving forward, we've got a little bit of run of offensive linemen now that I kind of get into, starting with what I believe is the best offensive lineman still available in Caden Proctor. When you're the Steelers, and I've seen a lot of people mock Olaiva Vanga-Ioane, wanted to get his full name, and Olaiva Vanga-Ioane here, but I believe that Caden Proctor is the better offensive lineman, and I believe that he's also a little more versatile. You could move him inside to guard, which the Steelers need help, or you could let him play his true position of tackle, which the Steelers need help. Ioane, he's a guard. And so because of that versatility, plus I think Proctor is just a little bit better, that's why I've got him going to the Steelers. But then I've got Ioane going at 22 to the Chargers.
Yeah, I disagree with you saying Proctor's a better overall offensive lineman than Ioane, but I will say obviously he is more versatile than Ioane, so I like the move for Pittsburgh where you can kind of plug and play him anywhere because you need multiple positions on the outside and the inside on that offensive line, and obviously the Chargers, they need offensive line. Their outside actually is relatively solid. I believe they picked up somebody else in free agency, and obviously they're going to be returning Rashawn Slater. So yeah, I think this is a perfect move for the Chargers, getting Ioane. So in a way, the blessing in the skies for the Chargers and Harbaugh and company.
And of course, I say Proctor's better. It's slight. I'm not saying he's a by far better guy. I'm flip-flop. This is another pairing of two players that I'm kind of flip-flopping in my ranks every other day or so. But right now, I'm giving the edge to Proctor, then Ioane.
That's fair.
And then 23, we've got Max Ihenacho, the tackle out of Arizona State, going to the Eagles. And 24, the final of this kind of run of offensive linemen, Caleb Lomu to the Browns, who also desperately need O-line help.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns, my goodness, they don't even know what's going to happen at quarterback. For all we know, Deshaun Watson could be starting for them in September. So yeah, I mean, you need offensive line very badly. So yeah, I like the little strand of four straight offensive line picks here for your mock draft here, Max. But again, I can't argue any of these. So I mean, so far so good. We're already at 25 though. I like it.
We talk about sports as games of runs, and you can go on a run and go off, and runs happen in the draft as well. As when one guy comes off the board, 2, then 3, as teams kind of realize, all right, they're picking the O-lineman. Let's jump on the train before we get lost. Now I've got the two teams that I talked about earlier need run defense help. That's the Bears at 25. I've got them taking the best run defense tackle in this draft, and that's Caden McDonald. And then Peter Woods right after to the Bills at 26. 27, Keldrick Falk to the 49ers. Again, we talk about guys like Nick Bosa. What is he going to be? I believe he is scheduled to return at the start of the season, but what kind of player is he going to be? And can you help him by taking a little pressure off of him, being the real true pass rush in this 49ers team that also I'm nervous about? Can they produce at the same level? They were really good last year for having so many injuries, but now was that all Robert Saleh, or was this depth just really there? Certainly getting Keldrick Falk will help. And then the Texans, you talked about it earlier, getting some O-line help. I'm going to stick to, once again, my guns. This is kind of a pick I've been mocking a lot, but Emmanuel Pregnon, I believe in him as a first-round talent. I know a lot of guys have him falling out of the first round and being a mid to high second-round kind of guy, but I really like him and his talent, so I've got him going at 28.
Those pure guards are so risk-reward, and I know that as a Seahawks fan, UConn legend Christian Haynes got picked by Seattle in the second round. That did not pan out because he couldn't even beat Anthony Bradford for the starting job. So, but that being said, yeah, the Texans, we need offensive line. You're very high on Pregnon. I like him. I'm not sure if I'm as high on him as you are, but for a team that desperately needs offensive line, the positional need there is a good fit. It's a good fit. So I like the pick here at 28.
And again, sticking to my guns of what I said was at the start of this offseason, what is the one thing the Texans got to do this offseason? It is figure out if it's C.J. Stroud or if it's the team, and getting him offensive line help certainly does that. Now, 29, the Chiefs, and I find this so ironic because every time I do these mocks, especially now with how this offseason played out, I just keep making them draft 2 corners. And I find it ironic because initially, when I was doing mocks earlier in the offseason, I had the Rams doing 2 corners. So still a corner at this pick number 29, this being Avion Terrell.
Dang it.
I know you as a Seahawks fan really praying that he kind of falls to 32, but again, watching tape and the way that things have kind of shaken up and moved around, it's a lot of like Yahtzee playing right now. You take all the names, you throw them in a little cup, you shake it around, you roll it out, and this is kind of where they end up being. And it really feels like, looking back at my past mocks, guys are bouncing up and down the board, and I had Terrell earlier in the draft, then he was later, then I had a couple mocks where he wasn't even in the first round, but really watching him, he's a truly great corner.
Yeah, and in a way, I think he's got a really, really high ceiling as well. So, I mean, listen, you already lost Jalen Watson and obviously Trent McDuffie to the Rams. So why not fill both cornerback holes in the first round? So, I mean, Avion Terrell has such a high ceiling. That's why I wanted him in Seattle, man. So I hope you're really wrong with this pick. But, I mean, there is another corner here that could fall to 32, depending on how your mock draft goes here, obviously, that I would love in Seattle as well. But Avion Terrell, perfect fit for Steve Spagnuolo and that Chiefs defense.
There are 2 corners that I think could fall and just might. But, of course, before them, we've got the Dolphins and we've got the Pats. And I kind of alluded to the Dolphins pick already and how I had flip-flopped just based on how this board kind of falls. I flip-flopped and had them taking a corner earlier in the draft so they could get a wide receiver here. And this is a guy I know you love and that has been growing on me. It's Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. He's really just been growing on me. And again, another guy that I had being a mid to early second round kind of guy that is slowly just starting to climb up my board a little bit.
It's also positional value, too. You can even say, even on paper, he might be an early second-round pick, honestly. He might be. But for a team like as bad as the Dolphins are going to be, that they need a wide receiver. I mean, listen, Deebo Samuel, if I were like the GM of the Dolphins, would be a Miami Dolphin as well. So pairing a hypothetical Omar Cooper Jr. as the 1, Deebo Samuel as the 2. I mean, listen, you're trying to rebuild if you're the Dolphins. I'm not going to say that's anything too scary per se, but Omar Cooper Jr. is a dog, and you're going to have him for 4 years. Replace Jalen Waddle. The ceiling's there. I like it.
And finally, rounding out, sticking again with this the common trend, Patriots going with the offensive line. We talked about it earlier of the moves that they can make with the current guys they have. Going with Blake Miller, the best offensive lineman available, and then rounding it out with the Seahawks having their pick between Brandon Cisse and Colton Hood. I'm giving the edge to Colton Hood, Tennessee, the second Tennessee corner to be taken in this first round as the pick for the Seahawks to round out the first round.
Yes, and that's obviously the cornerback that I was looking at outside of Terrell. Colton Hood, he not only we were able to watch him, unlike Jermon McCoy last year, and he was a shining star on that Tennessee defense. And if Mike McDowell can get that man at 32, that is huge for the Seahawks defense, where obviously they're going to need another outside corner. Devin Witherspoon plays the slot. Josh Jobe is also the other outside corner who obviously stepped up last year for the Seahawks, but you need a pure outside corner with the ceiling of Colton Hood or Avion Terrell, hoping that you're wrong in your mock draft. Then, I mean, the Seahawks are in a good spot in replacing Tariq Woolen.
And again, we take a look at guys that have kind of fallen out of this first round. And again, going on the side of how deep it is, we got edge rusher out of Clemson, TJ Parker.
Yes.
Wide receivers, Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion. Great wide receivers that kind of fall out of this first round. Some guys that are also getting mocked in the first round are Mason Thomas, edge rusher out of Oklahoma. Another edge rusher, Zion Young. Christian Miller, the defensive tackle out of Georgia. These are all guys first-round grades. Caleb Banks, another defensive tackle, first-round grade that just kind of find their way to leak out. And again, circling back to the top where I talked about how the Cardinals can wait. Some guys available up at that offensive line, especially looking at the interior. You've got Chase Basantis, the guard out of Texas A&M that is available, plus Jennings Dunker and Caleb Tiernan out of Iowa and Northwestern. Two great tackles that, again, are going to be available early in the first round. So we look at depth. We talk about depth of just position and availability. It's there. It truly is.
Yeah, and especially for the Cardinals, per se, you just mentioned them. They need a lot. They need a lot, especially if you're going to try and compete in the NFC West. Obviously, not immediately, but in a couple years, when they're trying to build a team around, you're going to need offensive line at some point. So why not? If you're looking at the second round, then yeah. I mean, listen, there's linebacker depth, as we mentioned, in the second round. Is why I disagree with your pick at 3. But it's also like, okay, you can also have the offensive line depth. So your first 2 picks, as I said earlier, should be either offensive line or linebacker if you're the Arizona Cardinals, and luckily for them, they're both relatively deep positions in this draft, so you can't go wrong.
So to round out this show, again, talking about some final remarks from you, anything else you got to say?
Go Hawks! Go Hawks as always. The reigning Super Bowl champions are going to be picking from 32, and it's going to be awesome to be able to see them pick at 32. Just the feeling of my team being able to pick last in the draft because they're the world champions is just an awesome feeling. I'm so excited. It's a matter of a few weeks. I can't believe it's draft season already. It's the month of the draft. I am stoked.
I'll finish this off with a couple quick final comments about the New York teams. We look at the Jets and Giants, and again, some people thinking, what about the defense? What about corners for the Jets? What about corner linebacker for the Giants? Again, some guys available: Cisse, D'Angelo Pons, Chris Johnson, Keith Abney II, Keontae Scott. The names go on and on. Davis Igbinosun. Just looking at the corners, looking at some of the true linebackers. Again, Jacob Rodriguez, a guy I love. Jake Golday, Anthony Hill Jr., Kyle Lewis. These are all names. Deontay Lawson. You've got some Alabama guys, as well as Justin Jefferson, too. The names go on and on of players that are available later in the second, third, fourth rounds. And so because of it, that is why I made the picks I made. And so I do hope that all of you lovely people enjoyed this episode. Jonathan, thank you for taking the time to come on to this show. And they're going to be hearing a lot more of you as we hope to get you on the next couple of weeks leading into the draft. And hopefully we will be able to confirm whether or not we're doing a live show coming shortly of the first round. But until then, I hope all of you do enjoy. This was Between the 20s with me, Max Raymond. If you enjoyed, make sure you come and stay tuned and check out every single Sunday when we go live from 8 to 9, as well as check out my YouTube channel, Max's Mike on YouTube, posting some great content. Going to be reposting this episode in case you missed anything. But until then, enjoy your Sunday, take care, and goodbye.